Upper rank 1 KOKUSHIBO is not only an extremely powerful demon within the Kimetsu no Yaiba universe, he also has connections to past and current slayers. Plus, he's probably one of my favorite antagonists. Today we'll be going over the life and death of Michikatsu Sugikuni. Michikatsu was born during the Sengoku period as a twin. His brother was none other than Yoriichi Sugikuni. However, during this era, twins were seen as unfavorable. It's not because twins themselves had bad omens, but because twins could cause succession disputes. Unlike his brother Yoriichi, Michikatsu was born without the mark, and this one difference seemed to put both brothers on completely different paths. KOKUSHIBO himself notes that the two had different bedrooms, different clothes, even different food. They were raised so ostracized from each other, perhaps due to their father's immediate disdain for Yoriichi's mark. These differences between them seem to only fuel Michikatsu in pitying his brother. He remembers avoiding his father in order to play with Yoriichi in his small room. Most likely, KOKUSHIBO had a more lavish bedroom. The demon also remembers that his father would notice Michikatsu's belongings missing. So Michikatsu made his brother a flute, something that would not be seen as missing from his room. Regardless, there were stark differences between the two brothers. Michikatsu remarks that Yoriichi was quiet and considered deaf until age 7. Not only this, but Yoriichi would cling to his mother's side, something Michikatsu interpreted as Yoriichi being weak. However, Yoriichi shared a similar dream with the demon, to become a samurai. This very dream seemed unattainable, as Yoriichi was to be sent to become a priest at age 10. Interestingly enough, Michikatsu also comments that he found Yoriichi's smile disturbing. This again plays into the pity and eventual disdain Michikatsu grows for Yoriichi. In fact, Michikatsu believed Yoriichi couldn't become a samurai due to the fact he'd cling to his mother. In his own words, samurai risk their lives in battle, so a boy who clings to his mother at the very sight of her could never become one. In spite of this, Yoriichi proves to be skilled, having taken down Michikatsu's instructor. Michikatsu was impressed by this and asked his brother about it. Yoriichi explained another difference between the two. He is able to see into the transparent world, unlike Michikatsu. Though this is a turning point in their relationship. Michikatsu admits he had pitied his brother before, but now he sees Yoriichi as superior. He compares himself to Yoriichi, saying he's but a turtle to the child prodigy. It was Yoriichi's talent that seemingly changed the distance between the boys. Their father wanted Yoriichi to inherit the house instead, and Michikatsu would be sent to train as a priest. Not long after, their mother passes. With this, Yoriichi tells Michikatsu he will now depart to become a priest. But before he leaves, Yoriichi says goodbye to Michikatsu, once again thanking him for the flute. Perhaps because he noticed the differences between the two of them, Michikatsu finds Yoriichi's appreciation disturbing. He notes that the flute was junk and only played off-key. It's odd how Michikatsu seems to resent this appreciative behavior from Yoriichi. However, considering that he grows to hate him simply because Yoriichi was more talented, one can infer that Michikatsu felt as if Yoriichi was pitying him. That being said, Yoriichi then headed off with barely anything in his possession. Once Yoriichi has left, Michikatsu discovers his mother's journal. He learns that Yoriichi knew he'd be named heir, so he left. Not only this, but Yoriichi had known of their mother's illness and approaching death. In fact, Michikatsu learns that Yoriichi wasn't a frail child clinging to his mother. He was helping support her left side, which she has difficulties with. This information is the catalyst for Michikatsu hating his brother. He no longer pities him or sees him as inferior. No, it was at that very moment Michikatsu felt nothing but hate and jealousy for Yoriichi. Something that would follow him even into demonhood. Yoriichi disappears, and with that, 10 years pass. During this time, Michikatsu gets married, has children, and lives a tranquil life. However, Michikatsu describes this time as somewhat boring, though his peace isn't forever. Michikatsu does achieve his dream of becoming a samurai, but a demon attacks where he was stationed with his group. This event is what brings the brothers together again. Michikatsu was saved by Yoriichi, but Michikatsu's serenity was taken away. He is enraged and envious that his brother has not only mastered swordsmanship, but also defeated a demon, something that isn't human. Even Michikatsu himself remembers seething from the sight of his brother. Regardless, Michikatsu abandons his family to become a demon slayer as well. If anything, his abandonment of his family, of his lifestyle, represents how badly Michikatsu wanted to catch up or surpass his brother. Nothing matters to him beyond beating Yoriichi. Like his brother, Michikatsu also manifests the demon slayer mark. In spite of this, he's unable to learn sun breathing. Instead, Michikatsu develops a technique that becomes lost to time, moon breathing. A golden age for demon slayers occurs, but those with the mark begin to die. In exchange for their power boosts, the marked slayers would die sooner. This information seemingly upsets Michikatsu enough for him to believe he has no future. Not long after, Michikatsu comes face to face with Muzan Kibitsuji. Muzan proposes that Michikatsu become a demon. He'd live forever and be beneficial for both of them. The demon lord wants a swordsman who can use the breathing techniques. Meanwhile, with immortality, Michikatsu would have all the time in the world to hone his skills. Of course, Michikatsu accepts. He wasn't just afraid of dying, but as a demon, certainly he'd be able to finally beat his brother. It also seems to be an act of defiance. The brothers don't meet again until 60 years later. Yoriichi has somehow managed to outlive the curse of the mark. He has aged into an old man, unlike Michikatsu, who now sports 6 eyes and goes by the name KOKUSHIBO. KOKUSHIBO shows visible shock at Yoriichi's appearance, asking why he's the only marked one still alive. Seeing his brother like this, Yoriichi merely apologizes to him. However, KOKUSHIBO isn't angered in seeing his brother. He's confused. Perhaps this is caused by his stoic brother crying in front of him. Right after crying for him, Yoriichi becomes serious, ready to cut down KOKUSHIBO. This sudden change stuns KOKUSHIBO enough for the legendary Slayer to partially slice KOKUSHIBO's neck. It's interesting to note that throughout this fight that KOKUSHIBO remembers, he himself doesn't want to acknowledge Yoriichi, instead referring to him as the old man. Having been too slow to react to the now elderly Yoriichi, KOKUSHIBO is lit ablaze with anger. He remembers the jealousy and hatred he always had for his brother. He wants to kill him, but his instincts recognize Yoriichi's next strike will kill him. But bizarrely enough, Yoriichi doesn't charge his demonic brother. He dies standing up, which further irritates KOKUSHIBO. This man he envied for so long and grew to hate hadn't died by his hands. He had, in KOKUSHIBO's words, transcended the laws of nature. Not to mention, seeing Yoriichi live to be so old was surely a slap in the face, considering KOKUSHIBO didn't want to die in the first place. That being said, KOKUSHIBO cuts down his brother's corpse. He sees that Yoriichi still carried the flute he made all those years ago, which elicits a memory for KOKUSHIBO. The demon cries, declaring once again that he hates his brother. 400 years pass. Little is known about exactly what KOKUSHIBO does, but at some point he, alongside Muzan, eradicates slayers who practice sun breathing. Though the second Kimetsu no Yaiba fanbook does mention that during his time as upper rank 1, KOKUSHIBO was challenged 3 times for his rank, one challenger being Akaza. He typically absorbed the losers, but let Akaza live. That being said, KOKUSHIBO is eventually summoned after 113 years to a meeting with upper ranks. He sits away from his fellow demons as they wait for Muzan. KOKUSHIBO is then seen noting the demon lord's presence. This meeting serves for upper rank 4 and 5 to be sent off to the swordsmith village. However, there is also an altercation between Akaza, upper rank 3, Doma, upper rank 2, and KOKUSHIBO. Akaza destroys the top half of Doma's head due to the latter asking if he can accompany upper rank 5, Gyoko. KOKUSHIBO cuts off Akaza's hand before the demon can react, telling him he went too far. Despite Doma saying he purposely didn't dodge, KOKUSHIBO further scolds Akaza, saying it undermines the hierarchy within the ranks. He then tells Akaza to challenge the upper ranks if he disagrees. The upper rank 3 is silent until he declares he'll kill KOKUSHIBO. KOKUSHIBO encourages this before quickly departing. Sometime after this, it is revealed that KOKUSHIBO was the one who gave Kaigaku Muzan's blood. He knows that it takes more time to become a demon if one is a strong swordsman. In fact, it took KOKUSHIBO 3 days. The demon also explains there are some who simply don't become a demon. Finally, to a stunned and terrified Kaigaku, KOKUSHIBO tells him Muzan's blood is a gift to be thankful and not spill blood, or KOKUSHIBO himself will behead Kaigaku. The final time KOKUSHIBO appears is within Nakime's Infinity Castle. He senses the death of Akaza. He calls the fallen demon weak due to Akaza's choice. KOKUSHIBO is still obsessed with being strong, becoming the ultimate samurai he always chased after. Then, the missed HASHIRA, Muichiro Tokito, is pushed through multiple rooms until he comes face to face with KOKUSHIBO. Instantly, KOKUSHIBO comments that Muichiro is familiar. Perhaps due to being a demon, KOKUSHIBO is able to look into the transparent world. Meanwhile, Muichiro's inner thoughts are focused on the upper rank sword. KOKUSHIBO's very presence is enough for Muichiro HASHIRA to shake. The demon then shockingly explains that Muichiro is his descendant, noting that the Tsukikuni name must have died out. He also notices that the HASHIRA is able to quell his nerves, something KOKUSHIBO commends him for. Muichiro then attacks KOKUSHIBO, but the demon dodges. KOKUSHIBO praises Muichiro's swordsmanship, The missed HASHIRA then activates his Demon Slayer mark, something KOKUSHIBO remembers. Most likely he has fought other Slayers who used their marks. That being said, Muichiro uses a technique KOKUSHIBO hadn't seen before. Perhaps this is due to the passage of time. The upper rank is impressed by the move, stating it'd be poor manner to not draw his sword. In one strike, KOKUSHIBO uses moon breathing to cut off Muichiro's left hand. Muichiro's inner thoughts after this reveals that KOKUSHIBO and Kaigaku are unique to other demons, considering they're able to use breathing styles. Despite his wound, Muichiro charges the demon. KOKUSHIBO manages to disarm and then impale the HASHIRA with his own sword. He then declares that he will have Muzan turn Muichiro into a demon. He further explains that because he's the only upper rank still alive, Muzan will most likely approve of him. KOKUSHIBO also assures Muichiro his arm would grow back as a demon, though he says it is more like encouragement to become one. He stops Muichiro's bleeding, but tells the HASHIRA if he bleeds to death or Muzan doesn't approve, then death was always his destiny. Suddenly, Genya shoots him from behind. However, the upper rank is too fast and dodges, as well as slicing off Genya's arm. He then acknowledges Genya as the Slayer who has been eating demons. He continues to slice Genya into pieces until he notices that Genya is still alive. KOKUSHIBO compares him to a Slayer from over 300 years ago, which proves how far back KOKUSHIBO can remember. That being said, the demon wonders if he must cut off Genya's head to kill him. He prepares to kill the Slayer, but then Genya's older brother, Sanemi, the Wind HASHIRA, appears. The appearance of the Shinazugawa brothers is somewhat fitting for KOKUSHIBO considering his turbulent relationship with his own brother. KOKUSHIBO notices the two are brothers, remarking that it brings back memories. Sanemi begins to fight KOKUSHIBO, the latter finally drawing his sword. His weapon is a grotesque, monstrous blade that is made of his own flesh and blood. KOKUSHIBO's technique destroys the pillars around them, but Sanemi notes that KOKUSHIBO is able to use multiple attacks without moving his blade. This is due to how his blood demon art enhances his moon breathing, which creates crescent blades that vary in length and size. While they battle, KOKUSHIBO compliments the HASHIRA. Sanemi though acknowledges how fast and lethal KOKUSHIBO is. The upper rank is seemingly delighted by the fact that Sanemi is able to keep up with him, which unlocks another memory for him. He points out that he once improved his sword skill against a previous Wind HASHIRA. Afterwards, KOKUSHIBO unleashes a massive attack that not only wounds Sanemi, but completely destroys the pillars around them. Once more, the demon applauds Sanemi, though the Wind HASHIRA has an ace up his sleeve. KOKUSHIBO notices his pulse increase as Sanemi gloats that his Mareichi blood works on even upper ranks. Due to the toxication effects of Sanemi's blood, KOKUSHIBO staggers. Sanemi swings his sword at the demon again, but KOKUSHIBO dodges once more. His inner thoughts reveal Sanemi is beyond any HASHIRA he has fought before. KOKUSHIBO also delights in the effect of Sanemi's blood. Despite the drunken effects, KOKUSHIBO attempts to behead Sanemi. Thankfully, the HASHIRA blocks the blade with a pistol. He tries to shoot KOKUSHIBO, but the latter deflects it. Then the stone HASHIRA, Gyome Himejima, appears. KOKUSHIBO examines Gyome in the transparent world, stating he hasn't seen such a talented swordsman in 300 years. The two engage in combat. KOKUSHIBO dodges Gyome's attacks until Gyome's chain catches him. The upper rank's blade is unable to cut through the chain, though he does escape with a piece of hair being sliced off. On the topic of Gyome's chain, KOKUSHIBO notes the iron used wasn't discovered during his era despite swordsmanship being at its peak. The two continue to go blow for blow, with Gyome successfully breaking the upper rank's blade. Regrettably, KOKUSHIBO's sword instantly regenerates. Then, Gyome awakens his mark, commenting that he planned to save it for Muzan. The fact that KOKUSHIBO is fighting not one but two HASHIRA only goes to show exactly how powerful he was as upper rank 1. Regardless, KOKUSHIBO reminds Gyome of the curse for marked ones, the fact that they die before 25. He further tells Gyome that the Slayer will most likely die tonight as he is already 27. The two exchange words with Gyome rebuffing KOKUSHIBO's offer to become a demon. Gyome himself says that he is proud to live and die as a human. Then he tells KOKUSHIBO he told one lie, that there wasn't anyone who survived their mark. The reminder of his brother is enough for KOKUSHIBO to continue the fight, as stitched up Sanemi rejoins the fray and awakens his mark. This causes KOKUSHIBO to wonder if all HASHIRA are marked during this era. He's also impressed by the fact both swordsmen use different breathing styles, but work in tandem. KOKUSHIBO himself wonders if Gyome and Sanemi are talented among even the HASHIRA. He certainly commends Gyome for his skillful technique despite his blindness. KOKUSHIBO thinks further about Gyome, specifically his weapon. He is able to figure out how it works, but resolves to destroy Sanemi's blade first. KOKUSHIBO tries to shatter Sanemi's blade from the side. Sanemi then turns his blade, so KOKUSHIBO himself sees the Slayer's reflexes are improving. This seems to further anger Kokushibo as he knows Tsunemi has suffered a certainly fatal wound. Gyome manages to slice off the demon's ear. Then Kokushibo attacks the HASHIRA from afar. His sword changed greatly. Not only did the sword become longer, but it now had more blades. Shortly after, Kokushibo unleashes another attack that takes off 2 of Tsunemi's fingers. With his elongated sword, the demon attack's range has also increased. This meant neither slayer could get close enough to the demon. Tsunemi isn't able to dodge and suffers several wounds before the freed Muichiro saves him. Unbeknownst to Kokushibo, Genya has consumed his broken sword tip. Meanwhile, Gyome continues to fight Kokushibo. He realizes that the demon hasn't run out of techniques yet, nor has his feet faltered. However, both Tsunemi and Muichiro join the stone HASHIRA as the 3 fight Kokushibo. Gyome cleaves off the demon's shoulder, while Muichiro stabs his sword through the upper rank. This sudden ambush causes the demon to question if the HASHIRA managed to see into the transparent world. But as Muichiro holds the demon in place, Genya finally takes his shot. Kokushibo is able to deflect the attack, but despite that, the bullets sink into Kokushibo. He's only able to notice Genya's pistol change form. Before he is anchored by the branches that sprouted from the bullets, it is then the demon realizes Genya ate his hair and broken blade in order to use his blood demon art. The sensation of being trapped, of death looming, reminds Kokushibo of the final meeting with Yoriichi. The recollection causes Kokushibo to fly into a rage. His crescent moon blades mortally injured Muichiro and Genya, but Tsunemi and Gyome are caught in the crossfire as well. Regardless of being cut in half, Muichiro holds onto his blade as blades sprout from Kokushibo's very body. Perhaps due to his deep-seated fear of death, of being forgotten, Kokushibo twists his form into that of a monster. He is originally seen with 6 eyes, which is inhumane itself, but he also changes his body. However, Muichiro resolves to not die without doing something first. Through his sheer will, he's able to make his Nichiren blade glow red. The pain Kokushibo experiences from it keeps him rooted. Tsunemi would then take the opportunity to attack him. Meanwhile, Genya utilizes the bullets that are still inside Kokushibo. Once more, Kokushibo is stuck in place. Gyome swings his spiked ball at the demon, but is unable to decapitate him. Muichiro's red blade reminds Kokushibo of his brother and a conversation they had. The flashback shows Yoriichi affirming that there will be slayers who will surpass them. As he remembers this, the demon is finally beheaded by the HASHIRA. Though the upper rank doesn't die, instead he regenerates his head, his body is transformed further into a monster, his shape resembling the unholy union of man and spider. Only Tsunemi and Gyome still stand against him. Both continue to battle Kokushibo, and the demon catches his reflection in Tsunemi's blade. He realizes how ugly he looks, which elicits another memory of Yoriichi. As a child, he told Kokushibo that he wanted to be like him. He wanted to be the second strongest samurai. The demon finds himself wondering if this is what a samurai should resemble. Then his body begins to crumble from where Muichiro stabbed him. As he disintegrates, he once again thinks back to his brother. He wonders if becoming a demon, eating people, forsaking his humanity was worth it. Ultimately, he comes to the conclusion that he merely wanted to be like Yoriichi. He even acknowledges the fact that Yoriichi's face is the only one he remembers, comparing his brother to the sun. He further thinks back on his life, admitting he abandoned his humanity, being a samurai, and cut down his own descendant. His last thoughts are Kokushibo questioning why he couldn't become someone, why he and Yoriichi were so different, even wondering why he was born. But with that, as the demon finally dies, he leaves behind the flute he created so long ago for Yoriichi. Really, the symbolism of this fight, combined with the cinematic shot and meaning of the flute of Yoriichi and Kokushibo, are really what makes this antagonist so interesting. That being said, we have reached the end of Kokushibo's life story. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. We make videos almost daily and are approaching 400,000 subscribers, and all the help we can get. Until next time, thank you for watching. I'm KJ. Have a great day. Goodbye.